actually are exposed.
I'm calling you or I'm sending you this mail.
Hi, welcome to another episode of In and Around Tech, the podcast where we decode the trends, the technology trends that are impacting the industry and what they mean for technology professionals like yourself. Today, we have a special guest, Mr. Ramkumar Venkatesan, CTO of Cashfree Payments. So Ram, before we get started, can you just walk us through your journey, the multiple companies where you worked, and how it has shaped you as a technology professional before coming to Cashfree Payments?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the podcast. And I think Crio.Do is doing a fantastic job in upskilling a lot of engineers and to sort of learn new technology and to explore other opportunities. So congratulations to you and your team on that. My journey started more than 2 decades back, although it seems like just like yesterday I entered my first job. It was at Oracle and started off with supply chain planning. And at that time, that was sort of a big thing. ERP systems were just coming up and we were building the best of the ERP software then. Then I had a stint at the Oracle database team, and Oracle database was and is the sort of the number one database technology. Learned a lot about building world-class software, highly resilient, high quality. You can't have your database being somewhat right? So it powers so many businesses, so many stock exchanges, and every business around the world, right? So learned a lot to build great technology there. Then I came back to India from US. I started off my career.
During what time?
This was 97 to 2008.
97 to 2008, you were in the Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley, yeah. And that was when the internet also started. Java was just starting. Right? We were in masters when Java was just starting out there, and now it's successfully completed more than 25 years as well, Java thing. And the internet came to being during that time, and the internet boom and the bust, I've seen all of that. And all of that was also great learning experience. Then I came back to Bangalore, India, and since then been there here in Bangalore. Worked at Yahoo, and we were having e-commerce stores as a service. So learned how to build SaaS software 24/7, uptime, etc. Right, great learning experience. And then had a good stint at Informatica, learned to build data products. And then after that, couple of ad tech startups. And then now I'm here at Cashfree Payments, FinTech, close to 4 years now. And here, this is my first, I think, fully Indian company, and I wanted to be part of that, having learned
a lot of multinationals
before. Wanted to be part of that, and it gives that sort of little bit of that thrill, I say, like the Lagan movie, where we can do that, and we can compete with the best in the world, and we compete very, very well with the best in the world and do better as well. And that's a great learning opportunity for me and for the entire team, right? So they learn end-to-end 360, how to build great software from requirements to from ideation to shipping it, seeing how the adoption is, tweaking the product, more innovation, and they're just not writing code, right? So that was the opportunity, and quite happy here for the past 4 years.
Excellent. Maybe some questions related to your 97 to 2008 journey, right? I think those were the peak times of the e-commerce boom and the bust. You literally lived through it, right? I think the 2000, 2001. Can you tell us about some of the crazy startups that were being funded at that point of time?
Yeah. And I think at that time, right, supply chain and B2B exchanges was a huge thing.
Okay.
And maybe even a day, I'm hoping I'm not exaggerating, but at least every week there would be a new B2B exchange startup that would be launched.
Okay.
And even Oracle launched a lot of these B2B exchanges, right? There will be like anything, right? Like you want to procure material for your factory, there would be a separate B2B exchange like that. I think that was a huge boom at that time. And also, even FinTech also started at that time, right? I actually bought a stock called ePay. I thought that was the ePay was paying electronically, and eBay was the auction where you can sell old things. And I thought, who's going to sell old things online? They will want to do payments. Then eBay is still there and ePay is not there. So all of those crazy things that what we might think that this may or may not work actually worked, and what we think this is sort of great market fit, and they didn't do that well, but it came back eventually. So a lot of crazy stuff happened during that time, and but I think all the learnings have been baked into the subsequent technology and the startups that have come through now successfully.
And coming to your current organization, right? So as consumers, we've seen right the explosion of fintech, the way it has made it easier to transact with a merchant, to transact with a peer. I mean, the P2P payments, etc. For us, it's been a boon, right? And a lot of consumers really don't know what happens behind. I mean, we are aware of UPI, we are aware of Google Pay, etc. But I'm sure we use a lot more than all of these things. For the benefit of the audience, could you just explain a basic version of what does the fintech ecosystem, what are the kind of players who run this fintech ecosystem?
I think that's is a huge fintech itself is a huge thing. Maybe I'll explain maybe a little bit of where we play and what are the other adjacent areas itself, right? So when you are making a payment, right? So there are these PSPs that you use on your phone to sort of make the payment. And there's a peer-to-peer and then a peer-to-business. And if it's a business, they use a payment aggregator like Cashfree payments. So the request sort of goes to them. And then again, there are so many payment modes. We ourselves support 100 plus such options to the thing. And you can use your cards, you can use your UPI, you can use net banking or EMIs or BNPL, etc., etc. So all of that again has to interface with payment gateways who in turn interface with switches, right? So the switches may connect to the NPCI network or the card network, etc. So then the transaction is sort of authenticated and authorized by the depending on the payment mode by different players that this person is the whoever he or she is claiming to be, and enough balance is there, and this doesn't seem to be like a fraudulent transaction. All that happens, and then authorization comes, and the debit happens on the sort of the issuer bank, and then that is relayed back to the switch, and then the switch relays it back to the acquiring banks, and then the payment aggregator, and then it flows back to the PSP and to the end user. So all of this entire orchestration of the payment and done in a secure and reliable way, it happens within sort of seconds, right? So so a lot of interaction just happens in this one particular sort of transaction. And then there are so many other players, right? Like now if we just get into BNPL, right, they will have a lot of logic going on as to what kind of offers should be offered to this particular user, etc., right? Etc. And then we have a whole different product suite for businesses to make payments to their beneficiaries.
Okay.
So this I talked about
the
consumer side buying from a thing. So we have a payouts product. And that is how actually Cashfree also started off to make bank transfers much more easier and make the recon for the businesses more easier, faster, and user friendly. So their businesses are making payouts to their beneficiaries, right? It could be payments that they are making for services that they availed, or it could be refunds, etc., right? So e-com boom in India, I think maybe back then when I came back, refunds was a big issue in India, right? We used to have boards saying no refunds, etc. That has changed to making, you will get refunds, and now you can get instant refunds also, right? Like within seconds you can get. So that is another ecosystem of the money going from businesses to other businesses or to customers also.
So, but when you entered, maybe 4 or 5 years back, what was the gap that you were trying to fill? There must have been other players by then, right? And it already gathered some momentum by then. What was the gap that you were trying to fill, and how were you differentiated?
Yeah, I joined the Cashfree bandwagon about 4 years ago. Akash and Riju are co-founders. When they started Cashfree, I think one of the first things that they were doing was to digitize this cash on delivery payments, right? India was again big on cash on delivery, and even now we do have that. They wanted to digitize that. That was how they started, and then they got into this fintech thing, and then they wanted to do the optimize the B2B bank transfers. So these two problems is what they started, and then they got more into the fintech, and then they decided to go completely online from the COD refunds. Let's do a payment gateway and the payout product. And that was the seed, and now 10 years later we have a host of other products in the fintech space. During that, right, like we have to onboard our merchants also, so we built a verification stack, and that now we offer as a verification suite or the secure ID. ID is sort of very crucial in fintech, right? Who is this person? Is he the person he's claiming to be? So we built that, and then we sell it, and that is doing quite well in the market. And we also have a risk shield product, right? So there are digital fraud, digital transaction is also going through a boom, and digital fraud is also going through a boom. So how do we protect our merchants and consumers? So the risk shield product is a shield that sort of protect the merchants from abuse as well as consumers from the abuse. And incidentally, we also have a one-click checkout, whatever I think Akash and Riju wanted to start off with COD. We have a product called Confirm, more playing on confirm the cash on delivery, Confirm, which again helps the one-click checkout and D2C merchants to validate and the success rate of the COD transactions, right? So if it is predicted that this COD might the transaction might not come through, then we can sort of predict that and help the merchant. And we also help the consumer finish the checkout much more quickly, right? So for a good consumer, we help accelerate the checkout process and protect the good merchants from COD fraud.
Yeah. Coming to the next point, now we've talked about widespread adoption, right? Given the aggressive nature of NBFCs foraying into tier 2, tier 3 cities, even rural consumers actually are exposed, or they have the chance to participate overall in the financial inclusion overall. But that also opens up, they're more vulnerable to online scams or hackers, etc. Can you tell us what are the things that consumers should be aware of? And then we'll get to how you provide protection for the consumers.
Yeah, I think phishing is where someone impersonates saying that I'm calling you or I'm sending you this mail from your bank, right? They could say any number of things, saying you have a new loan or your password has been compromised, you need to reset. And you click on that, and then it actually doesn't go to the actual website, but you give your credential and with that thing. And that happens sort of quite often. And our security team actually did phishing sort of a tutoring session. We didn't tell people and sent out a phishing mail. We are in the midst of our calibration. So they said your performance review is done. And many people were actually clicking on that link. They didn't provide the details. We didn't collect any details, but it was more like seeing how many people are clicking or seeing that it's a phishing thing. So phishing is sort of a concern that people should maybe never click on anything that looks too good to be true, or someone trying to create a panic, right? And then asking you to do something. Better to go to the source of truth and verifying. And then I think there's wishing also, where it's like a call that is happening rather than through an email, etc. And I think UPI and the collect fraud, right? So they say that you have a refund. Now you scan this QR code, enter your PIN, and now you're thinking that you are getting a refund, but they actually collect the money from you, right? And another thing is that I think if you're indiscriminate and download a lot of apps, there can be these malwares or Trojan horses that come onto your phone, and they can forward all the OTPs that you get to another phone, right? So you won't even know, and it happens in the background. Now they're trying to log in into your bank account, and if they have your password, even the MFA OTP is compromised, and they can think. And the password they might have got using the phishing attack, and the OTP they can get through these ways. And so all of these things keep happening.
Authentication is compromised.
Two-step authentication is compromised, but we do help in that as well. But I think customers also have to be aware of these things. But they go after, as you said, maybe someone who's not very tech savvy. But even tech savvy people, we've seen in the news, falling for the digital arrest, etc. So I think they are able to target, people who can fall prey to that.
Now, coming to the tech at Cashfree, I think we're all speaking about AI on how it is being used. Maybe if you can tell us maybe a mixture of the use cases that you're using it for, and maybe go deeper into how your engineering team, your tech team is using AI on a daily basis, that'll be very helpful for our audience.
Some of it are bread and butter use cases that I think everyone is doing, and we also did. One is to help our customer agents through having a copilot to answer the queries. And then we also have rolled it out as a customer care bot to our merchants. And that sort of accelerates the answers, right? So the end customer doesn't now have to wait to raise a ticket, and then it takes a few minutes to hours to resolve it. Then they can now get instantaneous responses. But in certain cases where it's still not there, where we would need a human agent, because we are in the B2B business. So the number of products and features that we offer are orders of magnitude more than a B2C use case, right? So we would need, there might be an integration problem, and very unique problem.
Unique
to a specific use case, etc. There, right, we gather all the information and now try to help the agent solve it in the least amount of interactions with the end customer, right? So customer care is a good place that we've invested in. The fraud is a other use case. We do use a lot of AI and ML and LLMs to detect identity fraud, right? People who are sort of forging the ID, right? And even in video KYCs, right? Like how do we sort of match the person to the thing? There is an automated part, and then a human would validate it. But how can we sort of validate the identity of the person in that particular thing? And flagging the transactions, both the PG, payment gateway transactions, as well as the payout transactions. And even large fintechs in India had some insiders sort of transferring money out from their account to their own beneficiaries. And then they were very, very happy that we were able to sort of predict all of those things. This was post the incident. Then we ran our model on that. And now they are our customer in the payout product. And it happens a lot in cross-border also, right? Because the transaction value is higher. So sort of frauds also happen. So in our Risk Shield product, we use AI to predict a lot of things based on the user behavior. And since we do millions of transactions, we have a lot of information about the fraud patterns. We have a graph database of different entities in the ecosystem, the end customer, what is the transaction, whom are they buying with, what time, what is the IP address, what geolocation are they doing, etc. And we use that to sort of find patterns and prevent the frauds that we earlier sort of talked about. So across our products, there is sort of AI in almost all our products, and all of these products are again embedded into the payment products as well.
Okay. So on the consumer facing side, you've talked about the customer support primarily for B2B and on the security or fraud prevention. Not only fraud detection, but prevention also for the consumers. As the engineering team themselves, we are hearing a lot saying that engineering teams can be more productive. What 10 engineers could do earlier, maybe now to only 2 or 3 people can do. Is that for real already? Or are you seeing some glimpses of that productivity boost while using these GenAI tools?
Yeah, I think it is for real.
Okay.
We are also ramping up, and some of the things that the team has done, and every day sort of I see it in our channel saying that today I've used it, something that was waiting on our roadmap for a long time, for years. We did it in 2 days,
Wow.
etc. That was a message that the team posted yesterday. Then yesterday evening, another team had posted saying that. We've invested a lot in automating because again we are in FinTech, things have to be correct, right? You can't have nearly correct transactions, and there will be automation failures. Now they built a system that can analyze the failure and exactly tell what was the issue, right? So it's something that would have taken an engineer maybe half an hour to 45 minutes to figure that out. Now is instantly told that this is the issue, this you just need to go fix it. And that's a huge productivity boost, and it actually was a context switch that it avoids. So that's a great thing that they've done, and people are using, right? We've actually blogged about it this week, like Java 21 upgrade. Earlier it used to be it'll take some time to do that, and a person did it in 2 days through sort of Copilot and thing. So it is for real. And but what I would say is instead of doing the same thing with 10 engineers, do it with 2 engineers, right? Can we do 10x, right, with the same engineers? I think maybe initially, maybe always this thing might be there. Maybe some places they might see it as a cost efficiency thing, and maybe that is where some of the I would say fear coming from engineers. But I actually see it in every domain, right? Not just engineers. It's going to help accelerate things in every domain. And but I think if we can find more and more problems, I'm sure there are infinite problems out there that we've not solved. So now I think I see it more as an opportunity to go after all of those problems that we couldn't solve because we were slower, constrained, slower relative to the faster now. And I think that is how I see that evolving.
So Ram, you've been a techie yourself, and you've seen this huge technology transformation that have happened over the last 20 years. Now, the AI is transforming the workforce and the way engineering is done, the way product development is done, etc. What is your advice for today's techie? Let's say today's techie who is 3 to 8 years of experience. He's right now very anxious about how AI is going to change his job. What would be your advice for him?
My advice for him and for myself was, I think, to adapt and adopt the AI technologies available and learn new things, right? Like, so today, if I'm a backend Java developer, I really do that well. Now Copilot comes, and I was telling that it did the upgrade in minutes, which in days, which it could have taken much longer, right? Why days was, I think, a little bit iterative it had to be. But then if I see myself as a backend developer, then I'm saying it is going to do it faster, and then there's only so much demand for so much Java code to be written. And if the AI pilot does that, then what do I do? I think is the thing that maybe should not be the approach to do. Can I learn new things? And as we speak, right, like one team, we had a backend developer. We didn't have a front-end developer, and we needed to build a front-end. Then in the evening, I talked to another person, and they are from the front-end team, and they were using the Copilot to generate the front-end code. And he said, just send him across and let him sit with us and we'll tell him how he can build the front end along with the Copilot. So now, right, learn new things and solve those problems. So wherever you don't have expertise, maybe take the assistant that can take you a little bit further, and then maybe you can fine tune it, get another front end developer to help you finish it. So now that particular person has expanded from being telling himself that I am a backend developer to I am a developer and I can do front end and backend. Similarly, our backend engineers, right, they have started using the LLM models and they are getting into a little bit of the data science space also. Okay. Right? The hardcore data science will be done by the data scientists, but there are many things that they can use with the LLM models, right? So they are getting into that also. So now you can do front end, you can do back end, you can do data science as well. And even the DevOps, right? Creating Terraform scripts, Helm charts, they're able to create. So I would say I think this full stack developer, or we can just even call it a developer or problem solver or a builder. Now if that mindset is there, that I will do whatever it takes, I will use the agent where possible, I will bring in my expertise wherever possible. Now you can solve many more problems, right? Then I don't think there's any sort of, we should not fear AI. Embrace it and do more. And at the core, we are all problem solvers. And I don't think we'll run out of problems. So I think there should be ample opportunities to learn and solve.
So what you're saying is the real example that you're giving of traditionally back-end engineers who never worried about front-end or DevOps or basic data science, they're actually learning all of this stuff with the help of Copilot, and maybe doing even more work than they used to do before. So it's the complete opposite of the narrative outside saying that there'll be less of work to do for our engineers in the future. Right.
Okay. That's how I'm seeing it, and I think that's how we can make it happen like that also.
Okay. Right. Are you also seeing that the non-engineering team members, right? Maybe product, or even sometimes people operating at the intersection of business and product. Now, some of these tools are also available to them, especially for prototyping the UI, UX, or the way they want it to look. Have they started using it?
Yeah. I think a couple of product managers already pinged me saying that I didn't have the engineer bandwidth. I built this prototype and he did internal sort of testing, right? He was trying something out new, and for a few hours he had it there, got all the feedback. Now he would have had to wait for the engineer to build it and so much long, right? And he just used it and did that. Few product managers are doing it. Few product managers have asked for Copilot access and we've said, yeah, go ahead, right? I think no one should be sort of unblocked. Some of our TPMs have built automation tools using Copilot, right? Like to automate what they might have done in project management. So yeah, I think many people are, I think, getting into that. I have this problem. Can you give me code to sort of solve that problem? And that I think will only accelerate even more.
Sure. Now, for some of the technology professionals who are in that 5 to 8 years of work experience, I'm sure they do a lot of work, but having seen many careers, right? What is your suggestion, other than technology work, is there something that they need to do, communicate more with the business, work more with the product? What all they need to do to position themselves for mobility in the organization, upward mobility in the organization?
I think connecting to business problems is always helpful, right? Not just for themselves, but for the business, right? If you had hundreds of folks directly connected to the business, thinking about what is going right or how can I even more accelerate it, that is the place to be in, right? So that everyone is connected to it. They know the pulse of the business, what is happening, and that is what we encourage our engineers to do, and many of them do, right? All of them have access to our sort of transaction data. How was the transaction volume yesterday? Who is doing more? Who is doing less? And adoption metrics, right? We even have sort of the screen recordings of what the user is going through in our checkout page, etc. And then they analyze that to see what is going wrong, how can we optimize that. I think that business mindset, or I think it's called intrapreneurship, etc. I think is extremely important, and especially so now in the AI age, that if you can be the connector of a business problem to the solution, and without multiple hops, if people can connect that, and their satisfaction goes up, and businesses grow much more faster. And because businesses grow due to them, right, they also grow as a consequence of that. I think those skills are very, very important, and opening up and talking to other functions, knowing their sort of problems. We build a lot of tech for our other teams also, right? So talking to them, knowing their pain points, and I think that is, I think, fundamentally innovation. I think everyone is an innovator at the heart, but now they can be even more an innovator with the power of all the tools that are now available. So I think those skill sets, communication, I think talking to more people, listening, soaking in the feedback, and then coming up with solutions.
And you worked in even large organizations, maybe in startups or emerging tech companies. Visibility is not such a big issue, but in large organizations, because we have a lot of learners on Crio platform who are from large organizations, maybe some service organizations, some large product organizations. Is it very important for techies to make an effort to be visible across the organization as well?
Maybe I'll go from my personal perspective itself, right? And I myself am an introvert, and I think all engineers are majority an introvert. I think maybe we look at problems more and we go into that. So I think visibility, we might even think that too much visibility means we are not humble, right? Right? Like my work should speak. I think all that is good. But I think we are putting the onus on someone else to know everything that you are doing, right? You know this, and why not just, right, in a humble way, sort of make it available to others. Maybe it's not about visibility, but at least they should know what great things you have done, right? The same thing, why does marketing exist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't build a great product and say the world should know what a great product that I have built. They should, and if they don't know, they are not fair. That same approach, I think we can't take for our work also, right? So talk about it, and it helps others also, right? It builds a positive environment that a lot of things are happening. I have great colleagues building great products. Silence can be interpreted by many people in many different ways.
Exactly.
So that doesn't come naturally for engineers. And we also did a good L&D session recently to help engineers communicate the right things at the right level, not oversell yourself, but yeah, the right amount of, I think, communication and visibility does go a long way. And you do your part and make sure that information is out there, and afterwards, I think nature will take care.
So, in these fintech systems where you talk about 99.99% uptime and maybe 100% of the right transactions going through, etc., there must be a lot of pressure on the tech teams, right? And I've heard you speak about yoga, meditation, all of that stuff. What is your advice to these 8 to 10 years of experience, or maybe even 5 to 10 years of experience? I hear a lot of incidents about burnout. Some of my younger cousins who say that we've had enough, we want to take a break. How should they cope with this pressure?
Yeah, I think it's true, right? Just like we say AI is true, I think stress seems to be true as well. At least a lot in the news. Yesterday I saw someone, I think it said 42-year-old, 36-year-old, I don't know, and he's saying he's burnt out with a 9 to 5 job, right? And that was the article, right? So it is sort of concerning that people are getting stressed out, while in that time, or actually any time, right? I think we should be having fun and being happy about everything. Definitely, I think yoga meditation, right? These are sort of time-tested things that we maybe giving that a little bit more attention. And we can even say that is my me time, right? I think your body needs that, your mind needs it even more. I think, yeah, I think that would go a long way. And another thing, maybe again from my personal thing, right? Like we talked about visibility, and visibility might mean that I have some expectation and I want to be promoted. And if that doesn't happen according to my expectation, that increases my sort of stress level. So there, if we can somehow manage, that's what I was saying, nature will take care. Put the sort of faith in the nature is very, very smart, very, very fair. Or karma thing is the fairness of that, right? It knows a lot more than maybe this point in time thing that we see, right? I have done this. We don't know what all others have sort of done. I think that is a great de-stressor to not have expectations, right? It's easier said than done. But I think somewhere when I flipped that thing, maybe until 10 years back, maybe I also had expectations, and maybe not that stressed, but a little bit, right? I think. But at some point when I switched over, saying that now I'll do it and now let nature take care, that was a huge, huge sort of relief. And my thought is a lot of stress comes out of expectations, and what we expect doesn't happen, right?
Switching to the people who are going to enter the workforce. Your son himself, maybe 3 more years and will be entering the workforce. I'm sure you must be thinking about him as well. But for the people entering the tech workforce in the near future, we have a lot of learners. We have about 10,000 learners learning on our platform. They're doing multiple courses, but they do have questions in their mind. Hey, is it really necessary to know coding now, or it's well past that curve? Should we start learning some AI tools? Are there going to be enough jobs out there? What would be your advice to them on what are the tech skills that they need to, especially people who are in college and who are just about to enter the workforce?
Yeah, I think we are hearing both sides, right? Some of these startup founders who are doing these copilots are saying that it'll replace completely. Yeah. Then there are others who say, right, it won't. I think. My thought, as I said earlier, was I think we will do more, and thing, but there might be some changes, and it might take some time also, right? Like, yeah, there are infinite problems to be solved. But all of them might not just come rushing. I think that maybe there might be a little bit of I don't, exactly, we can't predict how long or how often, where maybe some efficiency comes, and then more problems are sort of discovered, and then more jobs are created, etc. But maybe some amount of we call it disaster recovery in our software systems, right? Maybe ask that question, that rather than reaching that point and saying that I've done this and jobs have reduced, what will I do? Just hypothetically ask, what would I do if I was in that situation, right? Maybe I learn something different in an adjacent domain that is also interesting to me. I was telling my son that maybe, right, robotics has come, right? All of us use some of these vacuum robots. Now I came to know that there's a cooking robot as well. And maybe that hasn't evolved. We were talking about a yoga robot, or maybe even one that can lighten or de-stress your thing, ask you about what is your, maybe we'll have a philosophical robot to help you go through stressful things. So maybe people can think on those lines, not just again saying I've learned computer science or whatever you've learned, and I need a job in that one to let me just maybe broaden into what are the other problems that are there out there, and doesn't have enough software folks to solve those problems. Maybe they'll become an entrepreneur and maybe start a company and building out those things. So I think that outlook of asking that what if, and finding some more areas that they are interested and explore, that would be good.
Well said, Ram. So maybe just giving an example. So let's say 3 years back, if you had said people would, okay, you need to be pretty good at DSA, right? You need to be at an advanced level of DSA. You need to know a couple of one programming language definitely, and some technology so that you can convert a requirement into an application, right? Those are the fundamental skills that you wanted. You could get into an organization, you would use some elements of those skills, and the organization actually will retrain you to do something else as well. But you have become a trainable candidate because you know DSA, programming language, etc. Is it necessary to still do that because those are the foundations?
I think so, right?
Okay.
We all still learn, I think, biology, physics, chemistry. None of us actually use it in our thing. Maybe right, DSA also might have maybe reached that particular stage. Maybe I'm not really coding in a way, right? Like even with Java and all of that, right? Not that much of DSA is being coded. It is there in the library. But now, why do we have entrance exams, right? Like it is to somewhere we have to little bit differentiate the right. What is the capability level of that particular person? So I think, continue to maybe serve that aspect, and maybe it helps make your brain sharper, just like how maybe math and physics did earlier. I think, yeah, they should continue to learn how the things underneath works. And languages, I would still think that they should learn, right? Like even with the Copilot is going to suggest things. When it breaks, right, the human is supposed to be fixing it, right? So today, maybe if I take the example of a doctor, right, all the images and all are coming and everything is used, tech is there, but then he has to interpret it and give the next course of action. So yeah, the engineers also should know how it works, what is the code that it is generating, right? What if there is a spyware, a malware, and that is actually a real threat, that if the Copilot or whatever you use can inject bad code into your system, and if you can't catch those things, right? So I think people, yeah, should learn all of those things, and just it makes you faster. That's about it.
Very well said. And I think the way these people learn, I think even students in colleges right now or in the early working, learning by doing, learning by building stuff, right? Do you look for those characteristics when you actually recruit people? Maybe in the 0 to 2 years experience, can this guy build stuff?
Yeah. I think that's a very, very important skill. We do cover that aspect also, where we have, like, we call innovation quotient, right? We ask some questions on what are the things that you would build on your product, because you know your product really, really well. What would you enhance on that, right? Now, if they come out blank, then that's not a great sign, that you are only developing something what you are told, but you're not putting into what can you add, right? So I think that is sort of, we look for that, and while learning, I think that builds that, right? Like just going through the theory is also boring thing, and why are we even learning is to apply it and do something at the end. Right. So why can't we do it on the way, right?
For the people who are graduating or entering the workforce, right? There's a lot of uncertainty about the number of jobs that are there, right? I know you've said that you can do more with the existing number of workforce, you do more, but are you seeing jobs, companies like yourself or your peers or larger companies, are they in the hiring mode for 2025, or has the market subdued in terms of job potential?
I think job market is doing sort of pretty well according to like our perception at this particular point, and yeah, we are continuing to hire, and yeah, I'm not seeing any sort of slowdown or anything like that.
Okay. Excellent. So now, those were a lot of heavy topics that we've covered. So, closing rapid fire round for you, Ram. Uh, so, one book that you think every techie should read?
I think Think Again is a great book, and techies think a lot, and it teaches us how to think again.
Think Again.
Think Again.
Okay. And when did you read that?
1 year or 2 years back
Okay.
in Cashfree only.
Okay.
And we had a book reading session by our managers and all that.
Okay.
I read this book and then shared the insights. Very, very, very insightful.
Okay. You've given a lot of advice to youngsters now in the last 1 hour. What was the best career advice that you've received?
Yeah, so it was on my first day at Yahoo from my then VP Tech, and I asked him, right, any advice for me, and he said, stay technical. And that was a very good piece of advice, right? So typically, when we grow, get into management leadership,
Right.
we think we should do other things, yeah, do other things, but never lose touch with tech, because that is the foundation and the core. And if that goes, then yeah, we become very fluffy and thing.
Sound piece of advice. Okay. So you've been through a lot of firms that, and you yourself said it's not one particular domain, and you picked up different domains. In India, if you were not in FinTech, what is the other sector that you would be in?
I think anything that does good tech, right, doesn't make anyone not better off. I think I'm going for any of the domains.
Okay.
As long as we are doing good to sort of people.
Okay. Got it. What is one prediction about AI that you think will really surprise all of us?
I think it's surprising us in everything, right? I think that way, if I say, is going to surprise us, like what all it can do, and what all we are going to be using. Maybe the surprising fact might be that we don't have to fear it. Right? I think
that's a good one.
I think that would be surprising to us. I think we'll find a nice equilibrium, each of us having a nice personal, maybe one or two different AI agents along with us. That maybe would be a pleasant surprise and does a lot of good things and makes us all be in a better place.
Okay, maybe I won't summarize it because it's a lot, so I'll just do this.
Thanks a lot, Ram, for your valuable
Let me
time.
know.
Thanks, Krishna.
Okay. So that's a wrap to this episode of In and Around Tech. If you're interested to upskill and learn more about how GenAI can improve your productivity and sharpen your technology skills, do check out Crio programs. Do subscribe to this channel and share this video. Thank you.